my beautiful souls. I am so absolutely thrilled to be here with you guys and to be bringing you this embodiment challenge on mindset, mastery, and manifestation to reclaim the lost art and make your soul. We are going to have so many powerful things here, but before we get going, just a little shout out to Becky Moore, who redid my background, and now I'm super duper professional and ridiculously excited about it because it's perfect. So shout out to you, doll. Thank you so much. That was such a pleasure designing it with you. And I absolutely love it. My husband got it on the wall today, and oh, I feel so good about it. I'm so excited. So, little shout out done there. This is going to be so incredible. So before we get going, I just want to invite you guys all in wherever you're watching this video, wherever you're catching this challenge, however you're participating with us, to just have you put a comment down below and share your thoughts on what embodiment actually means to you, what your struggles are with it, and really at the end of the day, what you're trying to get out of your embodiment journey. What would feel absolutely super duper incredible for you to receive throughout your own unique embodiment. So I can't wait to read your guys' comments. I can't wait to interact with you guys. And I am just so excited. About a year ago, I got diagnosed with pre-diabetes, and it was kind of a game changer for me, because even though I had been coaching for a while already and I had been working with clients through being active and eating right, it was always just like a subsection of our work together. It was that like, oh, and make sure you are, or have you today. And it wasn't really a heavy part of our experience together. And in the last year of learning how to eat right and live a more active lifestyle, I've really connected to something that was more prominent when I was a health coach, when I was in network marketing and was selling supplements. And that for me is really taking your embodiment to a full body, mind, and soul level. And so much of Ignite is always focused on that psychological and that spiritual evolution between our head and our heart. And something has been missing in that whole time. And it's really in the last year been taking that experience inside completely and allowing your body to work through that as well. So this was a big shift for me this year, and it's something that I've really internalized and experienced, and it's been feeling so absolutely amazing. And it's really just been a culmination of where I've been led to. When we moved to Idaho shortly after, the children joined a dance studio, and little by little I've gotten more involved with taking part of the physical movements within the dance. And this year I actually signed up to do my own duet with a 17-year-old, so she's gonna kick my ass, but I'm so excited. And so really, from moving here to coming to this, realization of my prediabetes and not wanting to, be suffering with this like my father does, it's just been a full experience, a full process where one step has led to the next, to where as we're participating in creating mental wealth and as we're gaining that emotional evolution, we cannot lose sight of our container itself. And so when it comes to this embodiment challenge, we are going to be focusing on that, not just the mind and not just the body or not just the soul or the spiritual evolution, but we're going to be talking and working through all of that at once. And for me, in my experience, this is truly the way to absolutely fast track our growth, to absolutely fast track the desires of our soul, and to fast track that feel good feeling, that consistency, that discipline, that heightened sense of self, that high vibration that we're all craving. Even though we all have all of these materialistic desires in our minds, in our routines, at the end of the day, something that we are all searching for is what's inside. And so embodiment practices and really coming to your own embodiment has been something so magical this year and for the last couple years truly I've been experiencing in my life. And so I'm excited for this. And, last but not least, I know that this program is led. I know that our Mind and Movement Living Embodiment Workshop is completely in the right timing, is completely here and now for us because of the synchronicities that I've been experiencing personally in my life. And with the whole fast track of COVID and the disconnection that we've had in our own lives, in our own safety, in our own security, and in our own community, I truly don't feel like there's any better time than right now to be experiencing our own embodiment challenge. So, last thing before we get started, and I want to say this to you guys just so you know how many pieces of the puzzle have come together to bring you not only this embodiment challenge, but what's coming next for our Mind and Movement Living Embodiment Workshop. I had never done Reiki in my life before. If anything's popular, I'm kind of just like, fuck you, I don't want to go with you. It's just like naturally my disposition to things. I'm excited or I'll get into something, but as soon as it becomes the next big crave, I'm like, ugh, I don't want anything to do with that anymore. And so I've been seeing Reiki on my feed for years and years and years and kind of just ignored it. But through COVID and things changing personally for myself, I became open to the idea of kind of just experiencing multiple different levels of learning at the same time, which meant that I was no longer shunning myself away from Reiki or closing that door. I was no longer closing the door to those that call themselves psychics or healers, so on and so forth. And so all of a sudden my business life and my spiritual life began to grow and change, and I began to just see little bits and pieces of things. And so I was doing a meditation one night, unlike any other night, and for whatever reason, I had this divine download that said, call Jessica and tell her you're ready to do a Reiki session with her, which is so weird because Reiki has not been something I've been interested in at all, not just for the sense of it got popular, but through all of the new ways that I've been learning and growing, it still wasn't like a thought in my mind. And I was like, okay. So I texted her that night quite late and said, what is this? Explain it to me. Let's book something. And we booked something for just a couple days later. And I have to tell you, when we started out and I realized that like this session wasn't done face to face or even like camera to camera, I was like, oh my God, this is going to be so stupid. I'm going to hate this. But it was absolutely incredible. And one thing that she said that she felt, she said sometimes that when she's doing a session, she experiences messages. And so she said one of the messages that she experienced for me was, have you ever done an embodiment challenge? And the Mind and Movement Living Embodiment Workshop has been saved in my Canva for a few months as something like, oh, I took these pictures, this is cool, I'll move forward with that sometimes. I have a lot of things, a lot of ideas, and sometimes they all come out and sometimes get left in the dirt. And Mind and Movement Living Embodiment Workshop was one of those things that I created a graphic for. I said, we'll test run this eventually, and I'll go from there. And so following that Reiki session, when she told me that, I mean, everything in that session was just off the charts and absolutely incredible and so led. But when she said that, it was like, okay, it's all meant to be. It's all supposed to be. I have to get my ass into gear and I have to really begin to experience what it is I want this workshop, not course, to host. And so, all in all, I mean, this embodiment challenge that we're doing here together is going to be so incredibly powerful on its own and just give you a little inside view to what is happening. Now, granted, we're just going to spend a few days together, 30 minutes each day, whereas the time in our workshop is going to be much more extended, obviously. But this gives you an inside view into what's happening and really allows you to experience your embodiment right now, to begin to feel the release and of the tension and the stress in your mind and your body in order to clear away the negative energy and the struggle that you've been facing with for so long, and to begin to step into your own unique soul code and the making and the creativity of that right now. So even though that this is our little challenge, our freebie challenge, that does not mean that it's going to be anything less powerful. It is still going to be an incredible experience with you guys, and I think I've talked plenty long enough now, so I say that we should just get going and get started on our part one. So, see my cool cup that I got at the Dollar Tree? I love these finds. It's Halloween time, so all of my favorite stuff is out. So, today we're talking about mindset, and we're going to go ahead and start off with a mental wealth activator, which is really just my way of saying I'm going to talk to you guys openly and dish out some truths about mindset. So let's for a second talk about the common bullshit that we hear when it comes to mindset and how this really triggers some shitty shit within us. So first and foremost, if you're struggling with any sort of depression or anxiety or any sort of diagnosis, obviously your mindset's a tad off, but so much of that isn't your fault. So much of your mindset being off isn't necessarily your mindset being off, but your whole soul's essence itself being off. So that is one thing. That is somebody as a struggler of demons beyond just the desire for more. It's really hard to hear in the grand scheme of things. You just have to change your mindset to feel better. You just have to change your mindset to get everything you want. Because when we're struggling with those darker demons, changing your mindset is a much lengthy task than people make it seem. So that's bullshit number one. Bullshit number two is this idea that we can easily change our lives by simply changing our thoughts. Now, I'm not against completely the law of attraction, and I'm not against this idea that our thoughts create our lives, because that is in very fact true. But it doesn't simply take changing our thoughts to change our lives, because if that was the key to receiving every sort of abundance emotionally, physically, spiritually that we desired, wouldn't every single one of us have already done the steps to do that? Especially with as easy as every coach on the market is making it. And so bullshit number two is you can change your life by simply changing your thoughts. Now, one of the reasons that I think this is bullshit is because thinking your way into better living is never an idea for success, because when we think our way into better living, we begin our lives in our mind. And although that can be so super duper powerful in some quests or some frames of reference, for the majority of us who have been stuck cycling, it requires us to live our way into better thinking. And when we participate in actions, that is when we begin to change the way that we live. the way that we think. We cannot simply just think our way into better living. We must also, not only, but also contribute our lives to living our way into better thinking. And our mindset can truly grow and change and become this evolutionary cycle when we combine both principles at the same time. Doing things like learning how to pivot our mindset, i.e. living our way into better thinking, as well as learning how to act logically rather than emotionally, i.e. living your way into better thinking rather than thinking your way into better living. And so that's bullshit number 2. Bullshit number 1, just to review, is that your mindset, fixing your mindset, is not a super duper simple step that every single person can take in order to completely change their life. And bullshit number 2 is that your thoughts make up your existence. So the last thing that I want to say here, as far as our common bullshit that we're so attained to hearing, is that your mindset itself is the must maintain this super high vibe, so happy, all the time cheery, ready to manifest, ready to receive attitude 100% of the time to be a good mindset. This is so full of shit, and it really puts people like me, people like you, that are those black sheeps, those rebel cards, those wild cards, out of the equation. Because so many of us, maybe we are hippie and that hippie vibe, but maybe we're more of that dark and sultry vibe. And for those of us that are just human beings on this planet, guess what? Not every day is a super good day. Some days totally suck. And if we just move on with this idea that in order to receive, in order to feel good, we must always 100% maintain this high vibrational space. Number 1, we're totally setting ourselves up for failure, because what happens when your dog dies? You're not going to feel good about that. And number 2, what you do here is you actually lock yourself out from experiencing real feelings. If you're so dedicated to staying in a high vibe mindset so that you can manifest all of the things that you want emotionally, physically, spiritually, and financially, then you're not actually experiencing anything, because what the high vibe mindset that you have forced yourself into being is not actually present. It's not actually here, and it doesn't actually allow you the room to experience the pain, the suffering, the sorrow, the other parts of this world that are used for your receiving, for your transformations, for your breakthrough, so on and so forth. So those are the 3 common bullshit things that I have constantly been hearing, that you have constantly been hearing about your mindset and what you need to do to fix it. And so I think that it is time to totally just debunk those ideas and get started on a new process. So let's talk about some truth telling real quick for your mental wealth activator to finish you up. Your mindset is not a problem if it's negative or positive, because your mindset is ever changing with the seasons, with the cycles, with your experiences. Your mindset isn't independent on any one thing. Your mindset isn't shitty simply because you had a bad sleep. Your mindset isn't shitty simply because you got in a fight with your husband or your kids are being shitty. Your mindset isn't shitty because you're suffering from anxiety or suffering from depression. Your mindset is never just shitty. And your mindset is never just positive, because your mindset itself is ever evolving. And the problem that we really face within growing our mindset and using that to feel better and manifest and create ease and step into our own authenticity is the fact that our mindset is fixed. And that has become the problem. It isn't that your mindset is fixed negatively. It isn't that your mindset is fixed positively. It's that your mindset itself is fixed. Even if your mindset is fixed on absolute great things, you still lock yourself out away from being able to receive growth because your mindset becomes fixed. And by fixed, I don't mean like fix a problem, I mean stuck, stationary. And when your mindset is stationary, there's nowhere for you to go. So even if your mindset is stationary in a positive realm, you still can't grow from that. You still can't go up from that. You still can't explore from that. And if your mindset is stuck in a negative realm, you can't do anything there either. And so it's not important for you to maintain this high vibrational mindset 100% of the time so that you can stay in energetic alignment, so that you can create the life of your dreams and manifest the emotional evolution of your soul. It is instead important for you to focus on having an evolutionary mindset. A mindset that shifts and grows with your experience. And commonly we just don't have this. This isn't something that we have because we were raised in a fixed set. We were raised to be fixed. We were conditioned 100% to live in a fixed world. The majority of us are just born and raised and go to school. This is a fixed learning principle. It's not something we necessarily chose. It's not something we had a choice in. And it's not even something that usually our parents chose. They were either both working, so you had to go to school, or they never had a second thought in their mind about doing anything other than sending you to school because their mindset is fixed when it comes to the educational way that you raise your children. So this is just a small example how we have been conditioned into this world of a fixed mindset. This is true for so many things. And as we've experienced our own journey, we've begun to see that in a lot of ways we can choose our own path. We can begin to release this idea of a fixed mindset and begin to explore. Now, really specifically, to get in on the nitty-gritty here, how does this fixed mindset stop us from claiming the art of our soul and stepping into our unique path to completely undone soul making? For the exact same reason that your parents chose to put you in school. When you have a fixed mindset, you lose the ability to actually make choices for yourself. It's so hard being in a lens when things are crooked because you don't know which way to go. For this exact same reason, they didn't intentionally choose to do that. There was simply a fixed belief system over the educational system, and so that is where you were pushed into. That is what you experienced due to that fixed ideal, that fixed system. And so it is the exact same thing when it comes to reclaiming your lost art. You, at this point in time, either don't even know what your art is, or you're trying to, or number one, you don't even know that you have an art, or the art that you are is in essence what has been fixed to you, what has been passed down to you, what you have been told, what you have seen. And maybe you're here saying, no, I'm a rebel spirit, I do things my own way, yada yada yada. And I get that, because so am I. But let's just be super duper clear. Your Facebook is filled with people and their mindset, and you are constantly consuming their stuff, which is either tightly winding you to a fixed mindset that you already have via being triggered or by agreeing with them, or you're on the other side of the equation where your circle, your community is filled with things that you don't understand, you aren't attached to, and you're allowing that immersion into those things to actually begin to find that art. So your problem at this point with your mindset is that not that it's broken, not that it's bad, not that it's negative, but that it's fixed. And when our mindsets are fixed, when our mindsets are stuck, when our mindsets are stagnant, we absolutely cannot begin to create art and when we can't begin to create art, when we cannot create, we cannot find that authenticity in the direct path, the desired path, the creative path, the artful path that our soul is calling us to do. And so we have to begin to release these holds on our mindset itself so that we can begin to move into a version of expansion that we have not yet experienced. And as we go back to what we talked about in the beginning, part of the way that we expand our mindset, part of the way that we move into this process of creating our own soul's code, of reclaiming our lost art, of understanding and embodying what it is to be creation itself, and using that to experience our absolute best life emotionally, physically, financially, and spiritually, is by expanding, is by releasing, and is by doing, is by actually becoming, is not by just listening to a few affirmations, is not just by listening to this activation session, but it's actually about getting into the action. We're listening to this here right now, and we're doing some work audibly to fix our mindset, to think our way into better living, right? To put some things into our minds that say, ooh, yeah, that's really good. Ooh, yes, let me let this resonate with me. Let this settle for me. Let me repeat this a little bit. Let me keep my mind's eye focused on this, so on and so forth. So we're doing that side right now by listening. But the other piece of this equation that absolutely allows us to totally bypass all of the common bullshit is the actual action. We bypass that third part of it that says, or that second part of it that says we have to live our way into better thinking, and begin to harness both sides of that equation of living our way into better thinking and thinking our way into better living. And we bypass that first part of that common bullshit that said that we can just magically fix ourselves like that regardless of what we're struggling with. And we begin to actually not follow any one person, place, or thing, because our actions become true to ourselves. And when our actions are true to ourselves, when our actions are led by our own intuition, when our actions are for us, we begin to create that unique path, the soul-making path that we need, not what she said. And so by doing this here and moving on to the next step of this, which is our embodiment practices, we begin to absolutely physically tell our mind, bodies, and souls that the common bullshit that we've been fed so far is no longer going to resonate as truth for us, because we are taking the emotional and physical actions to set our entire container straight and begin to open up to exactly what we need to reclaim this lost art, to find who we are, and to embody our most common state of bliss. So before we move on to our embodiment practice, which I'm just going to deliver to you through voice, and I would love, love, love it if you guys would share your responses. But we'll go into that later. We also have a cool challenge that I'll post as well. But before we go into either of that, I really just want to quiet down with you guys for a minute and participate in a little bit of movement meditation. So for me, movement meditation was actually like this huge culmination of something really, really special for me. Because, hello, I have such an overactive mind, and I always have. And so I've always been the person to say that I can't meditate. I can't sit still for that long. I can't. And so I know what you're saying for that. And if you caught any of my videos before, you'll know that we just recently talked about how meditation isn't about sitting still. It's not about, it's not about doing nothing. It's not about the presentness of nothing, but instead the presentness of everything, of really, truly connecting. And so for me, this has been such a hard experience to come to in the last several years of learning how to meditate, because it's hard to slow down. It's hard to do nothing. But as I've moved through my journey and brought my body back into a complete unison of recovery and receiving and abundance and creation with me, what I have found is that movement meditations speak wonders, because it allows me to not be like this and super still, and it allows me to connect inward, and it also allows my intuition to lead in a way that I never knew possible. So, as we move through this meditation, I want you to just not do anything that you don't feel good doing. I don't want you to sway side to side or roll your neck or do any of the actions that I say if that's not what's called to you. I'm going to verbally speak some of the things that are called to me in the moment, and I invite you to try and sway and move with me. But if anything feels off or not right for you in that time, don't worry about it. Don't do it, because ultimately this meditation is about opening your mind's eye to connecting inwards to what you actually need. So focus on that. Focus on participating in what you need from this meditation. With that, we are going to go ahead and get started.
Hey love, what's up? I'm Christina, aka
I am going to hope that you guys can actually hear this music without any static. So let's just go ahead, and to begin, let's go ahead and, keeping our eyes open, take a deep breath. And as we breathe in, I want you to focus your mind's eye on the rise and the fall of your chest. And if you would, just place your left or right hand over your heart so that you can truly connect as you breathe in. And when you feel ready, go ahead and close your eyes and move with me and listen to the words of my voice and experience this meditation. Go ahead and keep your hands placed on your chest, and let us just take some time to ground our energy by breathing in, pushing your palm into your chest, and allowing the weight of the rise of your chest to push into your palm. Breathing heavily a few more times, keeping your mind's eye focused on the intention of your breath and the sensation in your palms and atop your chest. As you continue to breathe, if you feel your body swaying slightly from side to side, go ahead and just experience that with me, and allow yourself in no form or fashion to just let the waves rush around you and experience the movement with us here together, allowing your body to be the ultimate lead here. I'm going to go ahead and release your hands from your chest, just placing them on your knees or on your thighs. If you prefer, as I do, palms placed forward, upward, so that we can begin to receive the energy and emotion around us. You can go ahead and shift your sway from side to side and add in a little front and back motion there, if this feels good to you. As we allow our body to speak to us and as we tap into the intuition of our soul, we begin to find the movements that speak to us and that allow us to call home to a sacred space. At this point, we're focusing our energy and our mind's eye on no longer fixing or trying to fix, or trying to create, or trying to become. We're not focusing on being better or being more or changing something inside of us, because we know that who we are is the natural creation of something so much bigger than us. We're no longer struggling, we're no longer fighting, we're no longer trying to become her or him or something greater than ourselves, but instead we're focusing our energy and our attention on living into who we truly are. I'm going to go ahead and take our left hand and place it on our chest. And as we continue to sway side to side, just rub your chest from shoulder to shoulder, maybe down your right hand a little, moving into your bosom, and just experiencing the sensations that are on your chest for a moment as we feel in to our own creation, to the sweetness and the subtleness of our body, of our present container. Let us take that hand and let us reach out in front of us, raising that hand high above our head, focusing that mind's eye on the stretch in our neck and shoulders, and just upping that sway a little bit more so we really experience the sensations within our spine, and letting that hand fall down slowly and reaching it up and letting it fall down. And again, we're just going to continue with this motion, moving from our left hand to our right hand, coming up, pushing up and feeling that tension in our shoulders, maybe beginning to roll our shoulders a little bit, and then coming out. And as we experience this movement, we're tapping into the centers of our body throughout our spine and our shoulders that contain the weight of the world on us, the pressure and the stress, and this unconscious knowing of our fixed selves, that desire, that need within us, that feels as a burden among us, that says we must be, we must behave, we must become in any traditional method. I'm just going to go ahead and we're going to focus on this again. We're going to raise both our hands and just feel in, maybe creating a little bit of a circle with our bodies. Moving our neck into this motion now. As you stretch out here, imagine all these weights, all this fixation being released from our container, just being positioned and rising out. I want you to rise with those. Come back down and rise with all of that. All of that that says you must. All of that that says you cannot. all of that says you are. Let those hands fall and visualize the white lights raining down that supply us with a new form, an art form that is unique to us, that is special to us, that is our own unique embodiment. We're going to just move for a little longer here. We're going to tilt our heads down and just really get that stretch at the base of our spine. You can roll your neck or maybe just shift it side to side, but feel the stretch within. And I want you to see all of those little segments and pieces that move up your spinal cord all the way into your brain cavity that tell you you must, and you are, and you have, and you will only be. And I want you to see all of those little pieces, all of those connections. From atoms, they shift to dust, to particles of dust. And as we move our bodies, as we stretch out our necks, maybe touching our neck and pulling upwards, aligning our spine. Maybe grabbing at our neck and pushing out. We see these atoms, these codes, these wires transform to these dust particles and be released as gold specks flying through the sky, no longer attaching us to any fixation, no longer attaching us to any way. At this point, we're just going to curve our spine just a little so that as we stretch up, we can really feel. We're going to open our chest, putting our shoulders here back. And I want you to split your mind's eye between the opening in your chest and the opening at the top, and allow yourself to receive wonder and exploration. Allow yourself to receive new and beauty. Allow yourself to receive what is unique to your needs, what is desired for your growth. Let us just close in that spine once again. This time as we breathe in, we're going to inhale. We're going to open that chest and we're going to exhale up. And we're just going to grab and hold true the wonder, the exploration, the growth, the absolute beautifulness of nothingness, everythingness, and creation itself. When you feel ready, you can move from your open chest response to just slowly coming back down to a normal sway, hands falling where they may be, and allowing your back to come to that normal seated position that you find comfortable, and slowly stopping your sway and opening your eyes if you feel called to at this time, and really just taking a couple more minutes with our eyes open to ground back into the reality of now, taking a few deep breaths, and experiencing here. Picking a couple things that we can see, a sensation that we can touch, one or two things that we can hear, so that we are grounded back in to our present, here and now. All right, thank you guys for participating in that with me. The shortest, sweetest meditations can be so powerful. There is no right or wrong way to participate in them. There is no experience that is greater than the other. There's no way that you are doing it wrong. It is all just about beginning to feel in and connecting and partaking in the own creation of all the synchronicities aside us. And for me, movement meditation is such a beautiful way to tap into my intuition, especially with a body full of trauma. This can be such a simple and profound way to begin to heal and connect to who we are and wash away some of that stress and guilt and pain and suffering. And I don't think that an embodiment practice needs to incorporate a meditation. I don't think that your unique embodiment must maintain a practice of meditation. Maybe it's not for you, and maybe, just maybe, it doesn't look like normal meditation. Maybe you are so zen that you are able to move about your day-to-day life in a meditative state. Or maybe your meditation comes through different types of practice. Because again, there's no wrong or right way to do it. So if you're not called to movement meditations, that's okay. That's totally okay. That doesn't mean that you're doing it wrong or that this isn't for you. That means that you get to explore exactly the practice to receive and connect that you desire to use. Before we leave, I want to go ahead and just deliver the next embodiment practice that I want you guys to spend the next couple days doing. Again, this gets us into the action of things. This allows us to begin to, in the now, take charge of those common bullshit themes in our lives and begin to live in our embodiment and really begin to reclaim that lost art. And so your embodiment practice for mindset is to spend some time in a creative zone for you and create a piece of art with a single word. It doesn't matter what this word is. It is just something that you are first thought led to. It can be something spiritual and of the, powerful realm, but it can be a name, it can be an adjective, it can be a verb, it can be something like get up and move. But I really want you to spend time creating this word into a beautiful art project. So add in some colors, maybe some splatter paint, maybe nice and flowy. Maybe you're drawing flowers around it. Maybe you're getting out the charcoal. But begin to experience this one word fully and what it means to you. This too can be a part of our meditation practice as we're just really connecting and leaning into what that specific thing is calling to us. But let's get dirty, let's get creative, let's get funky, and let's take one word and really just turn it into an entire practice where we are embodying the complete receiving power, the complete pleasure, and actually feeling the definition of that word in our own soul's code. So that's the work that you have to do for your embodiment challenge, but I am going to post some super duper fun poses in our group because I want to give you the sense of the community that's coming for our mind and movement living embodiment workshop. And so I'm going to post a couple poses. I'll just send you ones of like the expert gurus doing them, but over the next couple days I will upload the ones that me and my kids have done too in the comments to kind of just show you that this is living embodiment. This is not just thinking a good thought. This is actually incorporating your entire container, mind, body, and soul, into an experience that brings back the lost art for you and allows you to reclaim your power and unleash your life. So I will drop those photos down below here shortly. I so appreciate you guys staying with me through this one. I know that this is a long experience, and I am just so pleasured and so grateful to be offering it here for you guys. So please ask any questions you have. Send your shout outs. Let me know your experience. How are you feeling about the movement meditation? And as we move forward, make sure that over the next few days you go ahead and post your positions. Even if they're crazy, even if they didn't work out, even if it wasn't okay, post it anyways. Show us your embodiment practice. Show us that art form and begin to create fully with your community and really connect to who you are as an ignited body soul. So if you want any more information on our mind and movement living embodiment, I will post a link to that down below that will give you all the details, super duper simple, and actually give you a preview of all the course components. So that's all I have for this one. Thank you so much for staying with me, guys. We will be seeing lots of you over the next few days, so hang in till then.